Welcome to Ma's Garage. I'm Cav,
I'm Crick.
And I am Smokey.
and today we're talking to you about life and the value of living.
We all know where life started, how we got here, how everything came to form.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's what we were taught by our parents when we were younger.
It's all a
It's
need,
evolution,
just like
you
everything
know?
in life. It
First,
needs to reproduce.
We started where meteors
universes need to
crashed into the
reproduce,
ocean,
just like we do.
or wherever
they
it
just create
crashed,
chaos, as
probably.
much
They say
chaos
killed
as
the dinosaur.
possible,
So
they
we're
can
probably a
create one
germ
individual
that
that can
survived by
hopefully
killing
create in a whole other
dinosaurs
universe so
and
that
have
they can
continued
reproduce
to evolve over
vicariously
eons
through
and
this other
eons of
thing.
time. I mean, they keep
And
finding out that people...
Is that like a condor? Or?
Condor. It's the
No,
stork.
it's the mailman.
It's the stork. We all came from the stork. Do you guys not believe in the stork?
Maybe we don't know.
Maybe we have some questions that still need some answers.
Is there a way we can actually measure fulfillment?
How does someone put more value on one life over another?
And then at the end of it, how do we all cope with living?
On this episode, we'll go into those questions and more. Grab a log and join us by the fire.
You guys think of life. What comes to your mind? Do you think of like your life? Do you think of people you care about's life? Do you think human life? Do you think life in general, like bugs? Do you go as far as planet? How
Well,
far does
honestly,
life go
earlier
when you
earlier
put it
on,
into your
I didn't
thoughts?
think as much of in the broad spectrum, but I do from time to time think about it more in like in the broad spectrum, especially when I'm like in like if I like like with bugs, like if I'm out in the woods and I see like certain bugs that like as a kid I would have like killed because they're bugs, and as an adult I respect them more, and I'm just like, oh, that's a such and such, like that's nice. Like I can respect, I can admire, and then I can continue with what I'm doing. As long as that bug doesn't try to interfere with my business, there's no reason for me to interfere with its.
You understand
Right.
his purpose a little bit more.
Yeah.
Same for
You
spiders. Blake hates spiders. Josh and I, it doesn't bother us as much. Me, I just don't want them in my bedroom.
That's
But
really-
if they're anywhere
Unless
else
you got a
except
fly
my
problem,
bedroom,
right?
I try to get them out of the house.
I've heard some horror stories from some people with fears from spiders. Sometimes wonder how much of those stories are real and how much of them are
Oh,
fables, because some of them are pretty outlandish.
Tim was also pretty scared of spiders.
I've heard of like flame-proof spiders and spiders that can withstand chemical attacks, and
Ones that can fly, ones that can make little parachutes with their webs so they can actually
Yes.
float on air currents and drop on
Yeah.
people.
The
But
little
that's where it's like, I
little
think that's
babies.
awesome. Like if I'm gonna go out, if I'm gonna die, I'd rather be by a flying fucking spider than some other dumb way of dying. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like if that dude
So-
died by a flying spider, respect. You know what I mean? No one's gonna belittle me for that.
Right.
you're just walking down the sidewalk, and then all of a sudden just and you just drop, and they're just gonna be like, oh my god, what happened? And after the autopsy, it's going to be discovered that like this tiny speck of a baby spider just like got on your uvula and like fell down your throat, and you choked on like the sensation. And they're
Oh,
going to
no,
be
no,
like,
no.
it was a
This is
flying spider that killed him.
this is where the guy walks up and says, "Oh my God, are you all right?" And you go, that spider goes up in your brain.
And then I cough out its babies into his mouth, and then it continues
Once-
on, and then the whole society.
When
goes.
Oh, and then
spiders
it's
start doing
aliens.
strategic attacks on humans like that, we're done for.
Right.
Watch out for the squirrels because they're not too far behind.
Rick and Morty already predicted it, man.
Yep.
Like in a universe where we mess with squirrels, we got to leave. There's
Right.
there's many more of them than there is of us.
It's
Start
true. I
encroaching
think
on
that
their
with
life too
ants a
much.
lot.
Dude, they outweigh us. I think they weigh more than any other species on like the planet can. Like if you combine all their weights.
Ants.
Yeah, because they're all
Just because
underground.
the
They're
most I
everywhere.
know.
There's so many everywhere. And if you just took all of their weight combined, it's more than humans weigh by a lot.
There's probably some like super ants the further down in the earth you go. They have to be able to
I can
chomp
believe
through the
it.
harder.
They're not mole men.
materials.
They're ants.
How many
Smart
times
ants.
have you actually seen the queen ant?
A couple times.
Yeah, I mean it's a big
It's a
big sucker.
boy.
But like That's only one type of queen ant that you've seen.
Maybe that's the princess.
who
You know?
knows?
Maybe the queen's deeper down.
Exactly.
You don't speak ant.
the
Do you
queen-
know the
Yeah.
hierarchy.
If we actually got down to where the queen is and we discover the queen is the size of like a small dachshund,
Oh, that'd be crazy.
oh, that would terrify me. But then I'd be thankful that the queen stays like multiple feet underground.
Right.
Like, how big does that ant? What's the smallest, or what's the smallest, biggest that ant can be where you're just terrified of it? Like, 'cause it's an ant, you know what I mean? So when it's this big, you don't really give a shit. But the more it starts to get out to a little about here, that starts
I
becoming
don't know. It
scary
probably
to
doesn't even
me.
need to be that big for me.
I mean,
to
a
be a little bit
dachshund's gonna
terrified.
a dachshund's gonna be about like 1.5 feet.
Up there.
An
give or
ant the
take.
length of my finger would probably make me a little nervous.
Yes, because an ant the length of my
Mhm.
finger, when it pinches me, is gonna break skin.
Oh yeah, easy. And imagine fire ants being as tiny as they are and as painful as they are.
Oh
Imagine
god.
an ant the
And
size of your
yeah,
finger.
imagine an ant the size of your finger that's just continually pinching you. Like, give it enough
True.
time, it can kill you.
Well,
It'll get through and it'll get to organs.
That's, I guess, part of the point too. It's not just the one ant that's this big. It's the fact that there's like hundreds of them. That's what's, you know, what I mean?
Yeah,
what's
that's-
scary
that's
about
why you
ants.
don't
Like, it's
wanna,
not
like-
just one ant.
Well, that's why
Just
you
because
also
they're
don't
bigger
want to
probably
like
doesn't change
step
that.
on like a
Right.
fire ant hill because they're aggressive and they're gonna climb and they're gonna pinch whatever they're climbing.
Yeah.
How would you feel if somebody stepped on your house?
Exactly.
I mean,
You
like,
defend your house to the death.
yeah, no
you know?
kidding.
Like, there are ants too that literally suicide bomb, who, like, when they get into an interaction and they know it's for the betterment of the colony, they can blow up their
Yeah.
ass and spray like acid on the other ants or other like things that are attacking them.
Different
Yeah,
defense
burn them.
mechanisms, man.
Yeah. There's another one too where they send like their older like dying ants outside of the colonies. And they'll, like, if it's going to be like, I think it's if they think there's a predator or something, or at night they do it. And then those ants close up the colony and stay out there to die. And like, so that nothing can get in, and they like
Seal
nurse
the
themselves.
gates.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh yeah, dude, it's crazy. Just
That
for, so
is-
everything
That's
else in
such
there
a
can
huge
live.
responsibility.
It
Such a
is.
huge responsibility. Seal the gates, guys.
Yeah, literally. like protect the colony and give our lives for the colony.
Yeah.
That's where they get like they say that you have to have like worker ant mentality in terms of just like supporting your home, like supporting the organization that you want to support per se.
I like.
Probably like the foundations of the community, right?
Essentially, it, like everyone in the colony works together. Like, Crick, you were talking about like your dream of like a fully functioning colony that supports each other. Basically, like that is what an ant colony is. Like, everyone has a job. There's not one ant that doesn't do their job. They all know what they need to do their job.
Right. And they do it without verbal communication as well. It's all sense and touches.
Hive
Like,
mind.
Mhm.
it's literally just like, that's
Knowing.
amazing. Like,
Knowing
they-
when the other needs it.
And humans can do that too. Like, if you
Oh, yeah.
worked with anybody for long enough, you know, like, you guys know each other's energy. You know how to weave around each other. You know how to dance around each other and do something at one time without interfering with each other. And it's an amazing skill to build with a team. Like, that is
Mhm.
like, it's crazy that you can do that and you can know each other's movements so well. But that's exactly what a colony is on a grander scale of like 100.
And they still haven't overthrown us.
Right.
We're
Right.
lucky.
And they're such a small form. Like, bees are a similar sense too, you know, like they're just so small, but like in numbers and stuff, like they have such power, you know.
I mean, think about like I think it was something like recent as in like within like 5 years or so. But like, wasn't there some like killer Japanese hornet that was like
Mhm.
going through the United States, like stinging
All over
and
the
killing
world.
people?
Yeah, they're
All over the
way here.
world.
Oh yeah, it was like a world phenomenon.
Taking people on bikes, like making people crash, getting in accidents,
Mhm.
all this stuff like that. Like,
because that sting has venom in it.
well, and they would kill their bees too. And another thing for the bees to save themselves is they would go huddle them and vibrate really fast, and they would cook the bee from the inside. But the bees on the inside of the huddle would also die too because they would overheat. But that's what they all do. They would just go in there and huddle together and shake really fast and get all hot and kill the thing.
Because one
Jeez.
hornet could take out an entire nest.
Yeah, it just goes and decapitates them, coom, coom, coom,
Wham,
one
wham,
after
wham,
another. Yeah.
wham, wham.
Bees too, I think, like the males, they can only have sex once. They like for reproduction. Like after that, like they're like, I want to say something explodes, however violent that sounds. But like once they have sex with like the queen,
Probably has
like,
something to do with the stinger.
yeah, like they're done. Like they're one and done. Like you pass on your genes and it's over.
Hmm.
Like you're you're done with like life. You end with life.
Never thought about how bees actually reproduce, because I've always just known about like that the queen lays eggs, but like who fertilizes the eggs?
Yep. It's a certain, like they all have roles and they have different jobs that they're kind of born into or given throughout their lives. And like that's what they kind of fulfill. If they're going to be a queen, they start getting treated like that as like a pupa and start to get manicured into being a queen.
Crazy to think democracy was probably founded because some kid was playing with ants one day.
How could it
Or
be
bees.
improved by looking deeper into that too?
Something
Right.
like that.
We take most of our best stuff from nature. Like how are they, like I don't see, like ants go to war as I know it. I've heard that they do go to war with each other.
Mhm.
I've never heard of like inner ant like homicide. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's not something
Right.
that you hear about very, very often.
Do ants murder within their own colonies? Or do
right?
they only kill when a war is being fought?
And I think for the most part, they only kill when a war is being fought, like unless they're like aggressive ants, like fire ants or something like that.
How many
Even
different factions of ants do you think exist within 1 square mile?
Oh, probably
A
a lot.
lot.
It's probably like how
lot.
probably even in the same house, in the same like lot that your house is on, you probably have the ants that live in the house, the ones who live in the attic, the ones who live out in your garage, the ones who live in the front yard, the ones who live in the backyard. You know what I mean? They could be subsections of each other where they've split off and have a new queen and everything else like that. But I bet, just in that little area, you have at least 10 different whole ecosystems going on.
Absolutely.
Colonies.
And I mean, even just think about like, it doesn't take a lot of space for an ant colony to exist. Like, just think about like how, like, even though granted, like the colony underneath the ground goes much bigger, but I do recall that like someone like legitimately like put metal down an ant colony
Yes.
and then hardened the metal and then like got rid of all the dirt, and then like at the end of it he had like a metal sculpture of this entire ant colony, and it was about the size of like a tire rim.
Yeah, it was pretty big, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it goes down pretty deep.
It does, yeah, and yeah, in terms of depth, it was probably as deep as like a semi double wheeler.
Do you think that was all of the colony, or do you think it had more tunnels that stemmed in other directions?
It probably had a little bit more, because like you do see that like the structure was stronger at like the much closer to like the main colony,
The main vein.
but then they
yeah.
did have like the branches that went off, and eventually those branches broke, and I'm sure that those tunnels probably still continued for however long that they needed to. It's just the liquid didn't travel far enough.
With that being so big, there's got to be ants. Can you imagine living your whole life knowing just that colony? Like if you're just a miner, if you're a miner ant who your whole life has lived inside that colony, you never really go above ground. Your whole life is spent building that colony. Like,
But then
and being
again,
fed
how
when you need to
long
be
do
fed.
ants actually live?
But that's only a conception
is
to you.
relative.
Yeah, to them that's a whole lifetime. To you that may be only a few minutes, but to them that's an eternity. You know what I
True.
mean? Like time is a concept. And so it's to them like that could be spaced out just because something lives longer than us. Like time is more relative to them, so therefore seems longer. That's where someone said it to me as like, as you get older, why time skips faster, because like when you're 5 years old, a week's not very long, or we'll say a year. When you're 5 years old, a year is pretty long. It's a fifth of your life.
Mhm.
When you're 40, a year is not as long. It's only a 40th of your life. You've already done, 39 other of them.
Very
So
true.
the older you get and the more that you've expanded in time, the more smaller time seems.
Oh, absolutely. Can definitely understand that, and especially like when you're younger, like even just like when you had like as kids, like tell a kid to wait for like 5 minutes, they're waiting an eternity, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my
That's a
god,
big portion of their
can we
life. 5 minutes is a
please?
huge portion of their life so far.
Like just the time that it would take me to smoke a cigarette could be an eternity for a child, and that's just tearing them apart.
Right.
Impatience.
Fruit flies live 24 hours. You know what I mean? Like it's an hour. That's their lifespan is an hour. Does that
Something
mean they
like
still
that.
should get to live it because it's small and seems short to us? No, I mean, it's still
Well,
life. It's still like in that time they've
my fruit fly trap over here insinuates that my thoughts are the opposite.
But hey, they're still in there, right? They're still finding a way, even though you're taking down their numbers. In that 24 hours that they have, they're finding a time to eat, grow, reproduce, all this. They're living a full life, even with the barriers that are put up against them in that 24 hours.
Do not remind me.
Could we
No
invent a
matter
watch
what
that
we do, we cannot eradicate the house of these damn fruit flies.
could we invent a watch that you could set to like the time clock of a certain animal? Like you want it in dog time, so you know how many years old your dog is and how many hours it is or whatever.
That they say
Or
that
like
they
the
say like
time
a
of the
dog
day.
year is like 7 years to a human years,
Yeah,
but that's
something
only
like
that.
because I think that's only based off the fact that dogs die at a certain age. So we said, well, if you times that by 7, then that's closer to how when humans die. So that's how we conceptualize
It was-
dog
It's the
time,
most logical thing. They use math,
right? And it's like, but
the
time
most
is
basic of math.
time
But I
is
thought
such just a
it
concept.
also refers to like when a dog is like 10 years old, like that's an older dog.
It's a 70-year-old dog.
So yeah, like it's
It's like a human, 70-year-old human's old.
it's gonna be showing gray hair, and it's gonna be like not moving as fast as it was when it was younger. And like the younger dogs, like using Zena as an example, like you had you guys had Zena since she was a puppy, and just seeing her grow through the years and seeing that she was like the elder dog of the group because she was the oldest of the group. So like the younger dogs were being young dogs around her, and you could see like the difference in like the age. You could see like the younger dogs that were playing more, and like Zena that's like, nah, I'm just gonna chill.
Right. And I agree there's a difference between, older and younger, and for sure it has the differential, but it's like we have such a need to place a time and definition on what exactly that means, I feel like, and we have to be careful with that. Where it's like, and reassociating it all back to ourselves, where we're just like, oh, dogs are like us, so it's 7 times this, how do we make them more like us? Where it's like,
I mean, that could very well be part of it as well. But I guess I do understand it more from the spectrum.
so either way, I feel like it's like it doesn't matter how big of space that you take up on this planet, like that there's always value to that life. There's
Right,
always some, yeah.
But how do you rate that? Do you do that with a bucket list? You put together a list of things that I want to do to consider my life fulfilled. And if you don't get them, then what? Then what's that mean? Or if you hit half of them, or if you keep coming up with new ones, you never find an end to the list.
Yeah, you have your mix of people that like they have something that they're consistently aspiring to, and then you have people that are just trying to like get through. Like they're not necessarily what they're aspiring to is surviving. And what their goal is in mind is making it to the next day. And then you have people that have actual goals, have actual dreams, and have things that they want to actively work towards. And you have other people that just want to waste time to waste time. I mean, they still have goals in mind, but then waste it, like legitimately like burning time however they need is part of how they achieve their goal. And especially in terms of like living out like a bucket list per se. Like when you have the means that you can commit to like wanting to like check off everything on this list. Like it's going to make a great list, and it's going to make some great memories, and it's going to make some great stories.
Right.
But
I guess
at the end of the day, who does that list satisfy more so yourself than the people that you're doing the list for?
That's where I think that list should be for you, like made by yourself for yourself. Like you establish value for your life, and like the decisions of what you place value on is what society judges you on, you know, and puts you in a certain place in the world because of the things that you value. And like, in a sense, you can help what you value, but you can't always help what you value. You're drawn to certain things based on a bunch of different factors. You know what I mean? So you have to give into that a little bit, but you have to find that value for yourself. Like you have to keep pushing yourself to different limits. And I had this conversation recently, even about with like animals and like the progression of animals, where they're going with evolution and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, there's dogs and other animals that have been trained to do, or I say trained, but have been told they would give the capability of doing amazing things and do them. I can do these amazing tricks that we couldn't see. And it's only because someone like showed them that was possible or asked that of them. And it's the same thing with ourselves, where it's like, unless you're asking that of yourself constantly, is like, hey, can I do this? Hey, am I capable of this? Hey, like pushing yourself to a new boundary. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, for valuing my life, like I'm stifling myself. I'm not giving my life the full value that it could if I'm not pushing the boundaries in every direction to see how big this space of life is that I have. You know what I mean? You really got to stretch yourself out.
And then to each their own. Some people may not want to be stretched out.
That's true. I mean, some people enjoy just the, like you said, the survivability part, the most basic form of nature. How can I get from day to day? You know, how am I going to make it another day?
And I can't, for me, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I can't focus on that. Like if I were to just focus on the minimalistic aspect of survival, that scares me. Like empowering myself more and focusing on what I can do and what I can control, instead of focusing on the outside factors that are going to affect me anyway. Like trying to focus on an unknown compared to focusing on something that I have more control over gives me more comfort.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that might happen.
It's because we want to
but I'll
try
handle
to
it when it happens.
Be more in control.
And I'll prepare myself so when different things or unknowns happen, I'm more prepared for unknowns, because I've put myself in enough uncomfortable positions that I know how to just handle uncomfortableness. I know how to handle myself in panic. Like shock is such an interesting thing. Like recently there was a shooting around where I live, and like I was watching videos from the main, you know, from the shooting, and like you see people just wandering around with this just look of not even knowing what to do, not even knowing like,
well, yeah, because it literally just hit home.
Well, but no, like they're walking around the building where there's an active shooter, not getting out of the way, not running and hiding, like because they don't know what to do. This doesn't happen in everyday life, you know what I mean? So it's like when you have that, like your everyday structure of what you know, all of your knowns shaken at the core, and you're not prepared to like handle when you're shaken, like you can lock up, you can like all the gears can just go.
Everybody can talk a big game, right? But then when you actually live it,
right,
that's where you see what the real feelings are, the things you didn't factor
right
when you thought about it.
How many of us have thought about how we'd like hide in the school and like jump out of and attack an attacker or something happened?
You'd be totally the hero to save the day, right?
Well, you think about that all the time. Yeah, like I would
That's
do
the
this, I would do
thought,
this. It's like
But then
what would
God forbid
what would
that
I do?
person that's
Yeah.
shooting up
What
the
would I
school,
actually
like,
do
You
in that
try,
moment?
you try, and say, for example, you
Would I
fail,
even try though?
and you lose your life because they shoot you.
But in the moment, would I even try? I feel like I
But that's
would,
the
and I
thing-
think I would based on
that's
past
the thing,
experience. But you
like,
don't know in the
Either
moment.
you
if
can
even
try, you can have an
Right.
outcome, or you can choose to not try and still have an outcome.
Right. It's there was a car accident I was in that kind of like made me think about myself in like those kind of situations where like we were in a car, we like took in a turn and we started to slide and we started going off like we're gonna go down this deep ditch where there was like a water ravine at the bottom. And it was decently slow, but not super slow, but we were just headed. It was just on, we're gonna go over the corner. The person I was with was panicking, freaking out in the passenger seat and just like losing it. And I just like slowly put my arm across their chest. We fell forward off the ravine and we just sunk in the car. And then we had to like, we just processed the situation. We got all of our stuff that we needed to. We got out of the car, got out of everything and just like went on it. You know what I mean? And it was just like two complete different interactions to the same incident. You know, and it's like that's where it's like testing yourself. Like that was a test for myself where I saw how I would react in those situations. And it made me more confident in myself that I'll better handle similar situations in the future.
Reaffirmed
get
with
that.
yourself. You actually lived the story you saw in your head, even a little bit.
Right. Exactly.
You were the person
Yep.
you imagined you'd be.
I can do that in those situations once in a while. In that situation.
The whole time you
Yeah.
were telling it, I saw like the opening to an adventure movie.
It's kind of what it felt like time slowed down. That's where time is such relative, man, because like that's the
Oh
thing
my
in
God,
accidents.
for
They
real.
say that with like like when cops go into like they can say they see bullets in the air like go by and they say trails and stuff like that. But it was just like I don't know how long it took for us to go off the ravine because it was just like and then it just I don't know, yeah. Time is an interesting puppy.
Yes, it is. It's like that accident that I tried like pumping my brakes like while I'm sliding on this ice, and no matter what I could do, I couldn't fully stop myself, and I had ended up rear-ending that person.
The
Winter.
unknowns, the uncontrolled, you know.
Mhm.
And it's like it's weird though because it's like I don't know how that situation was going to go, but I wasn't afraid of dying in that moment. I could have. The car could have flipped over, tons of other things, but for some reason my mind processed the whole situation and goes, "No, you're okay." And it just like, you know what I mean? Like it's why I don't know. Or did it not care about dying?
because
I
you
don't
knew
know.
the car wasn't going fast enough to actually flip.
True. But still we ended up like nose like this. Like I know we were going straight down, but I guess
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
But at the same time, your mind's probably processing that it's like, don't freak out because we need this to be over before we can truly decide if this is something we freak out on or not. Because it doesn't make sense to freak
Yeah.
out when you're going through it.
Oh, you're
Because-
so right though.
As much as it seems like the logical thing, freaking out is only going to make it worse because you're only going to be exaggerating the situation than what it might actually be.
That
You were
you gotta
with a
be,
girl.
yes.
You probably look so cool.
you have to be careful with that though too, because like what you just said made me think of the fact that I do that in a lot of other situations too, where I don't always emotionally consume situations when they take place at hand. I consume them later. So, you know, it's that same thing like
Sometimes
expanded.
Not all the
you know?
situations can be consumed immediately after because it's not
True.
something that you're immediately thinking about. You're thinking about whatever you're doing at the time.
We were pulling yourself out of the emotion, you know, and some people can do that and some people can't, you know.
That's
Do you
it.
have to digest that emotion at some point?
I feel
I
like you
wouldn't
do.
necessarily say that you have to, but I will say that it may naturally happen just because you may naturally think of it.
In my
Probably
experience,
healthy to digest it, right?
right. If my
You
experience,
would
if you
think.
don't, it will come back up. It will find a way one way
Oh,
or
yeah.
another to make itself present again. And sometimes it's not always in the same form. It's like reoccurring, like literally even stuff that you like suppress down can like turn into like physical ailments and stuff like that. So it's like, that's where it's dangerous, and it's a dangerous slippery slope to start, where it's like, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to push it over here. And it's like, then you have a whole pile of shit over here, and you've never built those skills to handle any of it. And so now you got a big pile of shit to go through without the skills to go through it. And you're like, well, what the fuck do I do now? You know, like you have to deal with that pile a little bit. Some stuff you can store because like you said, maybe you don't have the tools to deal with it right now. Maybe you don't even know how to understand it because life's crazy. Life's wild. Life doesn't make sense sometimes. So like there is things where it's like, I need to have another conversation, or need to have another interaction so that I can better consume what actually just happened, you know?
And even that right there, having another conversation, just being able to share it with someone else so that it gets it off of your chest.
Yes.
That's huge.
That's with what happened in my town recently. Like there's the only silver lining I've seen from it so far is the compassion that it brought out of the community. Like there was this need from people to talk about it. Like I work in a retail environment, I work in a dispensary, and like people, it wouldn't be the first thing people would say, but it would come up.
Because it was the most relevant, recent thing to happen in your town.
It was that, and it wasn't. People needed, like, from what I got from it, from my understanding, people needed to understand and decompress that that's not normal. They needed their community to say, yeah, that stuff was just like, that's not normal. Even though you know that's not normal and not okay, like people needed to confirm, like, no, that's messed up. Like, we're not just going to go on about the day kind of thing. Like, and you saw that from kind of everybody and people who you wouldn't expect to see it from. And there was this level of compassion and like come togetherness that came out of a community from it.
I mean, it definitely makes sense because like something like that happens in a community, the community is going to grow stronger. Right. If it unites.
That's helps, right? That's the best way to dilute whatever the person who perpetrated the shooting, you know, whatever they were going for, the best way to snuff it out is show solidarity in their way.
Show the opposite than they were looking to achieve. Like people, I'm pretty sure these people, unless they do, and teach their own, some might, but people don't probably think I'm going to go commit a shooting because I want to unite the people. Like I'm going to go kill a bunch of people so that it brings everyone together.
Right.
Which you could have some people thinking in that realm. It would almost be like a vigilante mindset. It's the premise per se.
For what's that movie?
Because they believe, well, yeah, like anti-hero per se.
Yeah, where he has to be the villain that everybody else.
Yeah, like you have to, like you have to be the villain in order for the
Watchmen
needs of the hero to be realized. Like you basically have to be the villain and the hero, where the villain side is probably going to be what catches more public attention, but then the hero side is what people are not going to necessarily pay attention to because they're going to be still so focused on, like, it's like someone starting a fire in a building and then putting the fire out themselves. Like they're like, people are just,
didn't I do a good job?
Why did you start that fire in the first place?
Oh, but I put it out.
What was the purpose?
But did you see how I put it out? I did that.
But what was the purpose? What was the reason that you started this fire in this building, that all these people had to evacuate, that you actually burned a person and you caused harm? Because I wanted to make sure that they had proper fire drills in place.
Right. That's where I think
burn someone.
It falls on attention. They just, everybody, like people feel like their life has more value if other people are paying attention to it. And yes, people will do certain things just to gain social
media is our baby, and it knows how to make babies of us.
Well, there was even before social media, there was a dude who defaced, I think it was a Roman structure. Literally, only reason this giant it was one of the like most like praise structures, and like he set it on fire and tried to destroy it just so he'd go down in history as the dude who did it. Only reason, only motive, only incentive was to live in that
I've heard of
infamy.
some similar stories to that.
And it's just
People
like,
that just want to make a name for themselves.
you want
And
to watch the world burn.
That's what a lot of people want to do. It's like, what's going to be my lasting mark? Like, what is going to be my namesake? Like, people
But
are
do you
going
not
to talk
value what
about
that
me
is?
for this reason.
How do you not care what that message is that you're leaving? How can it just be the importance of what that how can it be importance of the size of your message, not what the message is? That's
It's-
what.
and it's
that's where I
because
guess I don't
people
understand.
feel like they want to be remembered when they die. I mean, even in the show Futurama, Bender made a tomb that was the size of like 5 planets. Just so
can
that he would
remember
be
you.
remembered.
People can remember you without remembering your name. Like
Oh,
the
absolutely.
messages and the impacts that you pass on based
things
on
that
your
you
action.
start.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it makes the most sense to be nice to other people, because people are going to remember the ones that aren't.
It's true.
And God forbid,
know,
not always good
God
to
forbid
remember.
that I'm having a bad day and I accidentally take it out on this unsuspecting person that they didn't deserve it. I'm having a bad day, so I took it out on this person. And then lo and behold, let's say like 2 years into the future, I'm applying for a job and that's the hiring manager. He's going to remember my face because that person was a jerk, and I'm not going to get the job
Right.
because of something that
Yeah.
happened in the past.
But even in the personal gain, like I get that point to it 100%. That's a reality, but it's like, you shouldn't do them wrong in the first place because they're just like you. Back to the golden rule. Like,
Absolutely.
do unto others as you wish them to do unto you. Why?
Everyone's got.
I don't want my
their
soul to live
reason.
with that at the end of the day. You know what I mean? That I've done someone wrong in a way that I wouldn't want to be done.
Everyone's got that reason, and some people, like you, have a conscience, and that would eat at you. And some people, it's the opposite, and some people can do whatever they want to and just be completely emotionless.
It's like that little voice just doesn't exist.
That's what it seems.
Blows my mind, man.
Me too.
I battle with it every day. Like, how can they?
And especially learning about some of the ways that I've learned, some people have done some different things that I'm just like, who in their right mind even thinks, like, even like, not to get on like a completely touchy subject, but like, to each their own, having their reasons. But a woman that purposely keeps a good father away from their child.
Right. How my mom said it once, like, kids, you should never take love out of a kid's life. No matter what it is, you should never take love out of a child's life. Wherever it's, as long as it's coming from a good place and the right kind of love, you should never take any form of love out of a child's life, because there's not that much always going around in the world, especially for an individual.
Exactly. And that's why I say, like, there's a difference between a good and a bad father. I can understand girls like cutting out the bad fathers, the ones that don't fill the role, the ones that basically want to manipulate the child and just not make the situation better, make it better for them, but not better for everyone. So
Right.
I get it from that spectrum in terms of, like, they are protecting their child. But then you do have the other spectrum of, you've got people out of pettiness, and you've got people out of pride, and you've got people for whatever other reason, that if it's a personal reason to them, that they just hold that power over you because they
They
can.
make the executive decision.
Yeah.
Like, especially, like, I know from experience, like my buddy that lives in Ohio, like, he's in a similar situation, and he's had to fight tooth and nail to be able to continue to see his daughter and continue to be involved in his daughter's life, even though his daughter is his number one priority. He loves the crap out of her. He wants to see her succeed in every single way possible. Like, in terms of on paper, he is a good father to her, and he actually, like, tries to like help her grow. And then it's unfortunate that this woman, because they're in a state where in the state of Ohio, the woman has pretty much all power over custody over the child, even though the woman could be someone that uses drugs and abuses drugs, and the father could be someone that's clean cut and has a good paying job. It's going to come down to, what does mom want to do?
That's a good majority of states too are similar. It's very mother first. They're changing it. There are changes because it's been much more acknowledged, because it like that's, you know, sexism in a different way. We're saying to
It goes
you're a
both
man,
ways.
you're going to treat your
Like,
kid a certain way, and that's not true, because there's bad moms and there's bad dads.
Yes, there are. And you do. And because of that broken system, you have some women that were taught by their own mothers to essentially like, you are a goddess and you have the power to reproduce life, and you have the ability to hold that power over others. And that's where they just go and they try to manipulate men to do whatever that they need. And at the end of the day, they have the all power, because they can make the baby, and man can't by themselves.
And that goes back to, with having that power, you got to take responsibility for it, because you do have the power to make a baby. But what are you giving that baby the value, or are you taking advantage of that baby and using it as a tool to like accentuate yourself? Like, are you giving that baby a dad and a nice household and everything else? Or are you just popping out kids because you can use them for power or money or all these other things, or as little extension fashion models of yourself? Like, it's a big responsibility to be able to create life. You know, anybody can do it. Not anybody. Most humans can do it, unless there's certain, you know, medical complications and things like that. But it's
unless there's factors, yes.
That just makes it that much more important to acknowledge the responsibility of being able to have children.
Right. Some people who may not normally be able to are so much more appreciative to the kids that they have, because they were told maybe they never could have kids. They were told maybe that's not a possibility to produce life. Think about, like, I proved you wrong. I proved the world wrong. I made life.
Think about someone that like adopts because they can't have children themselves, but they adopt so that they can still have that parental role and have those parental responsibilities. And they're actually helping a child that no longer has that, or is no longer receiving that on a consistent basis, to the point that they are actually able to grow from receiving it.
You're giving their life more value. You're inflating it. You're feeding that life. You know what I mean?
You're giving opportunities,
to existence, but you fed it.
And then you think of the people that adopt for selfish reasons, and the people that adopt to create their children into super children.
Because again, it can also get turned into checks, or for selfish, greedy reasons.
Or life didn't work out the way that you thought it did, so you're gonna have your kid go through the same things to hope that he can get it right because you fucked it up. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and you do hear about that from time to time, especially in terms of like juniors. Like, you're already a junior, so you already got like you already got your dad's name, and you're like, you want to be exactly like your dad, so you're going to do exactly what your dad did. You're going to do the same job. You're going to have the same mentality. You're going to have the same mindset. You're going to be a literal copy.
Right.
That's what the junior is. Repeat with all the knowledge you've already got up to this point.
Yeah.
But then, like you just said, who's to say that like you like, I have a son and I name him Nathan Jr. And then let's say that he comes out completely different than I am, like a completely different mindset than I have. And he's my son. I love him and I want to see him grow. And I can only hope that he doesn't have a toxic mindset, because I wouldn't want to see that in anyone. I would like.
Oh, that brings up a good point.
Like there is a time for toxicity, but it's very short, and it's only an extreme, in my opinion. Like,
it comes in spurts. It comes and goes at different times in your life, right?
Like, I feel like, yes, and I feel like the people that have more toxicity that they have to deal with in their lives are naturally more toxic mindseted people because they're constantly dealing with it, as opposed to some people that don't deal with it as much, so they have a much cleaner mindset. But then you don't want to have it too clean to where you never deal with toxicity, because then all it is going to take one little piece of toxicity in your clean mindset to completely destroy your mindset.
Right.
So
That
that's, and
and
so
you
that's where
still
I
have to
say
go through
you
the
do,
toxicity to appreciate it too.
you do need to
You need to have to,
experience
because
it,
if you don't,
because the
it's easy to make
toxicity
jokes
is
and make fun of it.
essentially the toxicity in our lives is essentially what is it's the other side of the balance beam. Like, you have the positive, and you can't have all positive, otherwise you're putting things on pedestals, and you have all this negative down here because just one little thing, and it's going to tip that scale.
Well, what about if you're a parent who has spent your whole life, you're trying to do it right to the best of your knowledge, trying to raise this kid up, and maybe it's chemical imbalance, maybe it's other things, but your kid is a toxic individual. Your kid is someone who, you know, either doesn't separate themselves from emotion, doesn't know right from wrong, or something else. Like, you've tried to structure this, you've tried to, you know, better instill this life. What do you do with that? What do you do at that point when, like, you've done everything you thought you could, and you still can't
It
change
doesn't
that?
seem like you're making progress.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use the extreme, and I'm going to put it in words. How would you feel about your hypothetical son becoming a mass murderer?
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Like, if someone's down that path, like if they're like showing violent tendencies constantly, like you've tried everything about talking to them, asking them why, you've tried to like tell them how you try to show them by action. You've tried every kind of being the best parent possible to this person, and they're still set in their ways of being violent, getting ways through power and domination. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you, because that's where I feel like a lot of parents are. A lot of parents feel like they've tried everything they could, and then this, you know what I mean? Like, still happens.
I feel like you should never truly feel like you have tried everything.
It's true.
That you should always be looking for what is something that can help. And the best way to find out that something that can help is by having the conversation with the individual. And if that's true,
at least a good first step anyway, right?
like you said, if this individual just wants to be this way, all the power to them. Let them see how this is going to play out.
Then they go kill people. If you're just going to let it be, and they're have murdering tendencies, and you're just saying let it play out, then they're going to go kill people.
He's teaching him a lesson.
Sometimes some people need to learn that lesson for themselves. Like, I can lecture people that killing people is wrong. Doesn't necessarily mean everyone, all the billions of us on this face of the earth, are going to agree with me. And to the ones that don't, I respect their opinion.
That's where it is something too, because it's not all mammals murder. Like, humans are in the minority, where only 40% of mammal species actually murder other mammals, and we're even a more minority because the most of the thing that you see that is we're infanticide, where they kill like the young. Usually when they like take over like a new colony or something like that, they'll kill off all the next genetics. But we're one of the few species that usually does it so randomly and so much like on an older scale.
It's because we're the only species that has that free will to be able to think and do that.
But
because
I think we do that because there's just so many of us.
With other species, like, think about like not necessarily a pack, but like a group of cheetahs, or a group of wolves. Group of cheetahs that are all a group of jaguars, a group that are all hunting that are all hunting for survival. And then they come across two of them at the same time come across a prey, and they defeat the prey, and then they have to fight each other because the winner is going to be able to claim the prey. And I think it's more of like the winner between them. It's like a mutual respect that like this jaguar just dominated this jaguar. The defeated jaguar leaves because it's lucky that the other jaguar didn't kill it. And then the victorious jaguar claims their prize. Whereas with humans, same scenario. And then the minute that the victorious person turns their back, the losing person attacks them because they let their guard down.
Find the opportunity.
And they take advantage of the opportunity.
Animals do that though. They do sneak attacks and shit like that. Smaller
individuals
they do sneak
shit.
attacks, but generally not after a battle per se. Like for some, like I don't know of very many, unless the intent was to kill, at least in similar species. Like
right, but it's not senseless killing. It's just
well, I never said it wasn't senseless. I never said it was or wasn't senseless killing. Like it's just it's the difference between human mentality and animal mentality.
You asked a question, Kev, about you think it's because of how many they are?
You think it's because there's so many humans?
That could be
there's
a
higher
factor
percentage chance
because
that there's a human to think that it's okay.
Well, there's a study based on rats where they gave these like rats like everything they needed. They started off by like setting it up and not giving them what they needed and giving them drugs. And like when they didn't have everything they needed, they'd go for the drugs. But when they started having all their needs met, say like food, space, and their reproduction, like they started to thrive and they started having tons and tons of babies, starting cities. Like they had all this over rat population and they kept growing the size and giving them more food. Well, what started happening because of this, and when they started having, like, the moms started caring about the young. They had so many young. There wasn't a problem to have young. Like it wasn't a necessity to keep them alive. So they would eat some of their own young. They would kill some of their own young. The males would like find other rats and be super vicious, and like anything that was smaller than them, anything that was like a smaller rat, they would just like snap off and like bite and tear apart. And like in these perfect settings where they had all of their needs met, they saw aggressive tendencies like develop out of some of these creatures. You know what I mean?
What
And
else do they have to do?
Exactly.
That
and it's
had
like
no meaning.
they have to find that value again. And it's like getting to that as humans, where we're in cities now, and you don't have to worry every day if you're going to be eaten by a pack of wolves. That's not a concern. You know what I mean? And so it's like
you have
to worry about getting
worry
eaten by a
about
pack of
being
wolves of
shot
humans.
on the corner of 5th and 3rd.
right. You know,
which is same idea of concern, just a different reason and a different concern.
well, and that's where I feel like it goes into the sensible and not, I guess that goes to determine if anything's sensible, but it's like death with a reason. You know what I mean? Like if you walk under a vicariously hanging piano out of a window and it falls on you and you die, you probably expect that's going to happen if you saw the piano. But if you're just walking down the middle of a desert and a piano falls out of the sky, that's a fucking surprise. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's these situations that we put ourselves and understand like the risks. And when those are kind of switched up on us, like that's when we have to really reevaluate, reevaluate.
Understanding the risks are literally always there. Anything could happen at any time.
My
I know the other day, I had a stick break down from a tree and drop right in front of my car. It's the first time I ever had something come in front of my car at a time where I haven't had the time to stop. Scared the piss out of me.
People die like that all the time.
Yeah.
Like there was a guy in Boulder, someone was telling me this in the dispensary, who told me this the other day, where it just went right through the window. Same thing. Branch just fell right through the window because they were driving. Done.
Yep.
like
That
from
was it.
a few seconds different along your route, you know what I mean? Could have been a whole different situation.
Hmm.
And that's, yeah, that's where I think luck is a real thing. Like, I think we kind of created, and there's a little bit more behind it than just saying it's luck, but there is a certain amount of luck, and you can develop it and you can hone it and everything else, but there's a little bit of luck
Probably
that
got
goes
a
in things.
much deeper history than we give it credit for.
Right. Oh, that's just luck. What do you mean it's just luck? What does that mean?
Well, that's all. That's probably most of our knowledge from it. Oh, it's just luck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're lucky.
Yeah. It's just
that mean?
gravity.
Luck is a
What do you mean? What's it mean?
luck
You find
is
a
a
four-leaf
figment of
clover?
human imagination.
Why do you say that?
Like things, like no one just gets lucky. Like things all happen for a reason. The person that won the lottery happened to make the decision to buy a lottery ticket
What if they found it?
of all of the lottery tickets that were dispersed. There is one that is a winner, and one person will be getting. So people look at it as like, because they try to hold on, they try to explain for when good things continue to happen to them. And especially in like playing poker or like betting per se, like when you're on a lucky streak and then something happens and you lose, like you're not going to just keep winning all the time. So you have to know when the losses are going to come so that you're prepared for them.
Well, that's what we're saying. It's not luck in the terms that like it's something that we've created, but it's like just
Something to
because
build.
just because
Like karma.
just because a medicine works partially on a placebo doesn't mean it doesn't work. If placebo is part of the reason and it gets the effect done, doesn't mean it's not a valid thing. So if you can find a way to get yourself to do something and it's not working scientifically the reason you are, you're still getting it. So if a lucky shirt is giving you the extra motivation to do what you need to do, then wear your lucky shirt. For whatever reason it's doing it, whether it's a subconscious reason or not, you're doing better. So your luck is actually working. So yeah, there may be reason for everything happens, but that doesn't mean that reason can't be called luck.
Talking about, like, I think I've never had to experience this, and it kind of messes with my psyche from time to time. But outside of my work downtown, there are people that are currently working on the building, and I've seen it twice now, but there have been falling bricks from like hundreds of feet in the air.
Sounds like an OSHA approved work site.
Right. Yeah. No nets, no guards, no nothing catching that. Yeah, that sounds not right.
And the first time I saw it, I was just smoking a cigarette next to the building, minding my own business. And I saw this brick out of my peripheral fall and crash and hit the road that my building's on.
Is this road open to traffic?
It is. And I'm thinking to myself, like, thank God no one was driving at that time and that brick didn't hit anything. And then I was talking to the people that were smoking in the smoking section, because we'd all just seen it and heard it. And that's why we're all like, and we all just kind of like huddled underneath like the cover. And we're just like, my God, like coming outside to smoke a cigarette, and like never thought like my life would be in danger.
Well, that's where it goes
Every
down to,
moment.
like, just like you said, thank God that didn't hit somebody. That's lucky that didn't hit somebody. It's whatever words you want to use to define it, to give that
It all means the same
random
thing,
sense.
right?
Exactly. It's like, however, yes,
Describe
luck
a
may not be
miracle
real,
or something
right? But it's like
remarkable.
we created the word luck. We created whatever we put behind it. We created. It's our version to understand what the fuck is going on.
Yes.
So like luck is us lining up perfectly and setting ourselves
Something
up
happened there to
perfectly in
make
the
sure that
situation.
nothing bad happened.
Yeah,
Right.
That's basically
We slept
how,
in a little bit. We did
that's
this. We did that.
that's how
you know?
people define it. Like luck, like I got like, and especially like driving, like hitting all the green lights, like, oh, I got lucky.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and see,
I noticed that when we were driving to disc golf earlier today, like I hit almost all the red lights, and I'm just like, oh, it just must not be. I'm not getting lucky today. It must not be my day.
Well, that takes into your takeoff speed, the how fast you're
I
going in
know
between the lights,
there's
like what
factors
time you left, like but you set up
How
those
they
too because
weighted lights.
right, you've been
If
been
there's a
through those
car
a
in
bunch of
front of
times, so you might
that you have
subconsciously
to
know the
follow
lights,
because there's a car in the other lane.
right? And that's where it's like it could go anyway, but today it went this way, so that's lucky.
Yeah.
You know?
However it goes.
That's where it's too. It's like we even win that lucky battle when we're born. There was thousands of other
Oh
sperm
God, yeah.
that were trying to get to the egg, and like I think about that a lot. Like that was your first win. That was your first like fucking.
That was your
Yeehaw.
that was your
You're
first
like,
victory.
you were the
You
best.
You were the strongest seed that made it through
Right.
and got to become and was graced with life.
Whenever you're feeling down on yourself, remember you won that. Like you won one thing. You're not a complete loser. Like it's not true.
The best comeback that a dad will ever tell you. Hey, you just remember that you just keep in mind. I didn't have to come inside her.
I could have pulled out.
I could have pulled out. I could have pulled out, and you would not be here.
You could have been another stain in my sock, boy.
Something.
I was just always told that I was daddy's little squirt.
Oh man.
Oh man.
And that's even
that's
that's so
awesome.
much life in such a just a small little like
Nothingness, it seems like. You know?
yeah. And it's
No.
like that's life. That's just like that is the creation material right there. You know what I mean? Like
How many lights
A
have been
plus B
squirted
equals
into
C.
the end of his sock?
a lot. Billions.
Oh,
Trillions,
my
zillions,
God.
gillions. You probably couldn't. I don't probably even know.
Since the beginning
We
of
might not even
time.
know that number. Yeah, right. Like, yeah. And that's literally from our genetics programming us to reproduce and to create life. To where we're like, oh, we always got to be producing and creating life. Like let's create
Survivability.
life now. Can we create life now? How about now?
Step
Can we create
one.
life now? Like, now we're on a one-track mind to create. You know.
Mm-hmm. And that's why some people just continue to pop out babies.
That's where too, though. I think life can be different. Like you can make life in a lot of different ways. Like you can have a baby as a child, but you could also have a baby as a business that you build for a community. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that is your
Mhm.
entity that you put into this world that affects the world around it. So it's like you can bring life into a world in more ways than just reproduction. You know, and that's where I feel like you can redirect that energy. You can see that need in yourself to make and to create. And you can say, okay, but I'm going to harness that over here. I know you want to create. Let's do that, but let's do that here. You know what I mean? And restructure it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's you realizing like a positive way to utilize your creative energy.
Yeah. And take over some of my needs because like sexual desire, like I don't know, it's probably not the same for everybody. It gets in the fucking way. Like there's so much shit that I just want to do.
God.
And it's like boobs, this, sex.
Literally.
Should I be having sex? And it's like, I have other shit to do right now, man. Like, and it's like taking that control over my mind, being like, cool, dude, I know that's what you want to think about, but that'll get handled later. And it's like, yeah, you have to take control of it. And there's other primal needs, you know what I mean? Like eating's the same too.
You gotta
And it's
find
like,
ways to sell yourself like, hey, listen, somehow this can get to that.
right. Everything relates back to sex. So if you do
Absolutely.
this and make
It's like
this, someone may think that's sexy.
Boom, look at
It's like a
this.
meme
Look at
that
this.
a friend showed me not that long ago, and I think it was like the modern citizen or something, and it was like they have like a chores list that they could do, and they have like their hobby that they could like have fun doing, and then what they ultimately choose to do is to fap.
I mean, it's easier. You don't have to go anywhere.
It's like what you want. It's like what you need to do, what you want to do, what you end up doing.
Right.
But that's where it's a little bit TMI, but it goes back. It's like that thing from Wolf of Wall Street, where what's his name? Where he's talking about where he's in oh, what's his name? Damn, I'm spacey. You know what I'm talking about?
Jonah Hill.
No, he's sitting down with Leonardo DiCaprio at the table. The thing I like about High School Girls is I keep it when they say the same words.
McConaughey.
Yeah, McConaughey.
Hmm.
But he says that he does it every single morning, and sometimes like halfway out the day to release the demons, release that pen of energy, release
Yeah,
that to get rid of that thought process.
It's not when they're it's not when they're going, oh, it's when they're sitting down and they're having the breakfast.
That's the same part. That's the same part as where he's doing oh, he's like, do it with me. Oh, that's all in the same conversation.
Is it?
Yeah, because I watch it from time to time. It's on YouTube. It's pretty inspiring video, and that's like one of the comments. It's like his only part in the movie.
I thought that was part. I thought like that was like in like the group, and like
he brings it to the group. McConaughey is the one who teaches him it because he's sitting there doing it and he's not doing it. He's like, do it along with me, and so he just starts doing it along with him, and it's just to free him up and to get him like relaxed in that environment. But it's like taking charge of that and taking charge of your need. You're like taking charge of your own needs and everything. You know what I mean? Like putting yourself on that path, taking out your distractions of these, even what nature tells you that you're supposed to do with your life and how you're supposed to value it, and find that value yourself. Don't let society determine it. Don't let nature determine it. You determine the value that you put on your own life and what you can do with it.
Other people just give you ideas.
Right. It's input. It's not a say all. It's an input.
Mm-hmm. Feedback. Help you process, refine your process, and keep doing the things you enjoy doing. Get better and better at them.
And at the end of the day, all we can do is just make the decisions that give us the results that we thought that we were looking for.
What do you think how do you gauge that though? Like, how do you gauge that level of validation for what you wanted out of your life? How do you know when you've met it?
I don't think anybody ever.
I would argue that
satisfied.
You don't. I would argue that the only person that, I guess I would argue that when you feel whole, like you don't feel like there's something else you could be doing. Like you are just like you've put in your time and you are content with everything that you have done, and you can actually just sit down and reflect on everything that you have done.
In my experience, though, it's fleeting. Like I've had times in my life where I felt like that. I felt very fulfilled and like I've had everything, but and then like changes happen, something happens,
but I'm not,
and then it's.
But doesn't mean that. But I feel like you're also about to say that feeling did not stay.
Right.
So you can feel fulfilled, or you can learn something new and learn that there's something more that you could be doing. So I would almost argue that no one should truly feel fulfilled.
So should you be
always more that people could be doing?
Should you be on guard when you're feeling fulfilled? Should you know that like, hey, I feel fulfilled. This feels all right, but
everybody's got their own opinion of it, right? But I agree.
Yeah.
But there's also going to be
Smokey.
But there's also going to be stresses that come with like that fulfilled feeling, because especially if you have that feeling, other people want it too.
I feel like
and they're gonna look to you to give them the answers. And that's where you have like that Wolf of Wall Street moment where it's like, you made this much money in a month. You show me, you prove to me that you're not lying to me, and I will literally call my boss and quit right now. And he shows him his paycheck. And then the next scene is, hey, yeah, boss, I quit. I'm done working for you. I'm going to do this. And then the rest is history.
You were going to say something, Kev?
I don't remember what we were talking about before that.
I think we're getting a good point.
I felt like I had a good idea. I felt like I had a good point to it.
I think we can start.
It was measurement and gauge of fulfillment, because that's where we were recovering your question. And so it was about gauging fulfillment and knowing. You said you agree with, and then you got kind of cut off a little bit. So I wanted to see if you had anything else to say about it.
Okay, I agree with with Smokey in the sense that we should always have the sense that we could be doing more. There's always something that can be done, right? Nothing's ever complete, nothing's ever perfect. But we're allowed to take a minute and relish in some of our wins or some of our successes, some of our victories, right? Like we have to remember to do that, but at the same time we can't overdo that. Like, hooray, you threw your straw wrapper in the garbage again.
Right.
You're 30 years old. Good job.
Like create new standards.
It's fun.
Reset your setup.
It's funny that you say that because the book that I'm about to finish up, the guy, and he's literally talking about like breaking a world, like he's talking about like the process and mindset and everything that he had to like break the world record for most amount of pull-ups in a 24-hour period. And on his third attempt, he finally breaks the record. But the first 2 attempts, he goes through everything that he had to essentially go through. And because of that first failure, and he talks about like in the immediate aftermath of a failure, like doing like a reflection, like, okay, that just happened. Why did it happen? And how can I prevent it in the future? Like, what did I not do to in order to get the result that I was looking for? And that's
bodybuilders say that's the trick in general, is that you're supposed to talk about a workout. Like right after a workout, it's not a meathead thing, is you're supposed to talk about the workout. What went well, what went bad.
What I'm trying to say is on that third attempt that he finally does everything right and breaks the record, everyone in the room and the gym that he's at is cheering. They're like, he broke the record. This is huge. This is a huge monumental moment in history. And to him, he didn't feel the same way because he had worked for so long and worked so hard on achieving this goal that now that he's achieved that goal, he can't even enjoy the moment.
Like, what's next?
Right.
Exactly. That's exactly what he said was, okay, I broke that. Now what am I going to be aspiring to and putting my life towards? And that's where it was a feeling of more being overwhelmed. Like people are like, you're amazing, you broke this record, and he's just like, yeah.
So it didn't fulfill him. Like that doesn't sound like he
did the opposite.
Fulfilled.
He thought
or
he would
it
get
fulfilled
fulfillment.
Him too early.
He thought he would get fulfillment from breaking this record and being able to put his name in history.
That's where I think you have to really put into check where you got the idea from.
That's not the end goal. That's where it impacted him.
Got you.
And I like it that he finishes his book with this scenario. I'm on the last chapter now, and I'm really excited to finally finish this book because I feel like I've been reading it forever. But it's really only just been the month of March.
That's where it just goes back to where that direction comes from, because I think that's where you can fulfill what you do if it's something that you directly as a person care about getting done. Mm-hmm. If it's something else that somebody else has built up to you as important, and then you just get so sold by them that it's important that you feel like you have to achieve it, and then you achieve it, but you find out you really didn't care about it in the first place. You know what I mean? And then you're like, wow, I just put all this time, I did it, but what did I do?
Exactly. And like, even like using myself as an example with the editing that I'm doing, like I legitimately have fun doing the editing, and then I can just watch the episode after I'm done editing it and just appreciate for the result that I produced. And it's going to give me fulfillment and it's going to give me satisfaction that like I produced this, I made this, and this is what it looks like. It'll look even better when I see more people that feel the same way. But even if not a lot of people feel the same way and they're like, you could have done more and you could have done this and you could have done that, I'm going to write down what they said, but I'm still going to be proud of what I did.
Right.
That's life to me. It's finding the things that you can feel fulfillment from, not goals that you can beat or ways you can get your name in the record book. Find things you enjoy doing, things that genuinely make you feel good when you're done with it, or it's making something.
That's why they say that you should just be happy. You should do what you love and do what makes you happy.
I want to step back a little bit on something I just said, because hear what you guys said made me rethink it. But it's like other people can I think help you give you paths towards fulfillment, because other people can help, like especially if you're in a place down and they can give you a project to work on or something to do because they either see potential in you, and like when you get
It's
that
huge.
project done, you feel fulfilled and it motivates you to do something else. And someone knew that, so they planned that out on purpose. You know what I mean? And it's just, I guess, who has that power and is how they're using it. But other
Whether
people
they
can show
had
you
plans to
fulfillment.
do it that way or not, that
Right.
or if you seem like somebody who could do it for them. It's still, yeah, maybe it's not something you see value in now, but you were sold enough on it when you did it that you took the time to learn a skill to be able to complete the thing that was asked of you. Whether you care about it now or not, no, but
Right.
what you can't lose is the knowledge
Exactly.
of how you went about that, and that you do know how to do that, and you know that how to do that thing later in life when it is useful for something you actually care about. The skills there to recall.
Even using this barbecue as an example, like 5 years ago when I was given the thing, I knew what I needed to do in order to make it workable with propane, but I just didn't value it, so I didn't do it. Never made it a priority. And then we're in a situation that my other roommate's grill that they had no longer is working. So now my grill is the only other grill. Well, we have my grill, and then we would have had his other portable grill that he brings on like camping trips and stuff, which is cool. But like we had the opportunity, we finally it was taken from like lowest priority almost to like top priority, because we want a grill to be able to make food so that we can continue to feed ourselves.
Right.
And everything that we've done in getting this grill to the working condition that it's in, we did all the cleaning today. Like it's been sitting for 5+ years. I don't know why I never thought that maybe I should clean this thing. Like it's probably been sitting for a while. Maybe I should clean this thing. Like when we actually like opened it up and like saw the grease trap and everything, oh my God, this grease trap smelled so bad. It literally smelled like someone just took a shit and just right on the pan.
Well,
There's some mouses.
that goes back to what Kev was saying too, is sometimes you don't know that you care so much until you're done. You know
And
what I
that's
mean?
and
Like,
that's the thing. Like,
once you have that
after
finished,
everything that we have done, like him and I, like he did everything in terms of the engineering, in terms of like he like took a Dremel tool and like made the hole for the starter a little bit bigger because the other traditional starter that was with it wasn't working. So we put the other starter and then connected that to the mechanism, and then he unscrewed the hose that was there that was only like a foot, and then put my hose that we got today that's 2 feet, so then it reaches underneath. Like it just he did it so fast and he did it so easily that I was making such a big deal, and it only took him like 5 minutes, and it made me realize how minuscule of a deal this whole thing is and how much bigger I was making it out to be.
dude. Yeah.
Because anytime anyone ever
Everything
came
in
over
life,
and
right?
they're like, oh, that's a nice grill, I was like, yeah, I need to get the converter so that it can do propane. Just haven't done it. Just like it can't, like it'd be not, it would have been nicer to just like do that in the beginning and then like know what I have and done the cleaning then, because then maybe we would have been using my grill this entire time, and then maybe he would still have his grill working.
Well, that's where it's easier to make excuses to yourself. It's easier to make excuses than to do it. And that's where you have to create a culture in yourself to, no, just do it. It needs to be done. I'm just going to do it. Because the thing is like, yeah, you're wasting more energy by just validating it and coming up with reason. And it's just like, it's not a big deal. You're making it a big deal. And I'm speaking from self. I've done this to myself so much where it's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. Why? You've never even attempted it. You've never tried it. How dare you tell yourself you can't do something you've never tried? That's
Take
not
advantage
fair.
of doing things when they pop in your mind before
Right.
you give yourself a chance to talk yourself out of it.
Or a limit. How are you to tell yourself what you can't do if you've never even explore that area. Like that's
Are
it's
you
not
an
fair to
expert all of a
yourself.
sudden?
Yeah. Are you an expert on not being an expert? No, you don't need to be an expert to do things. You just need to have
You're not
sometimes
an
common
expert on your
knowledge.
own limits, obviously, right?
Right. Like human bodies, like and bodies in general, like nature, like we're capable of so much, and we're capable of like adapting so well to so many things because of all the shit we've been through in these cycles and cycles of life. And it's like, take advantage of that. Push yourself to your limits a little bit. See what your body's capable of, but do it to things that you want to do. It's like
Those are
this is
the things that you produce the greatest for everybody
right,
else.
right.
What
This
you
is your
care about. You're
paintbrush.
gonna
What are you
put your
painting?
soul into it.
Right. Like feed the energy in the right direction, direct it the right way. Where you want to see it gone directed. No one's going to tell you where to put it. No one's going to tell you, like, that's all your energy. You're a bumbling ball of energy that can interact with its environment around it. You get to pick what you do with that. You get to pick how you make interactions and affect people's lives and make chain reactions and all. That's on you.
Or you can be static and just
Yeah.
play in the background.
But even that's doing something. Even that is not
is.
doing something and affecting people. You could be out helping
No matter
people.
how
You
much
could be
you
out
think you're
feeding
not
people.
doing
You could,
nothing.
And
right.
even
doing
if you
something.
do have other people that are telling you how to do things and how to live your life, no one ever said that you have to listen to them. And it's up to you to make that decision on if you want to or not. And that's
Right.
the right that you have as a human being,
right.
100%.
is the
All we
right to
do
be
is
able to
we-
make decisions for yourself, that you don't have to have other people make decisions for you.
And don't
From
let
the
anyone
time we're
ever think you're
born.
different.
And some
Like,
people,
people try to tell you that's
some
not true.
people, they just want other people to make the decisions for them. And some people, they want to control it themselves.
Responsibility is hard.
It can be at times.
And I just,
My
all I ask for
personal-
those people who want to have other people do everything for them is I just want them to ask first, before they ask somebody else, why they can't do it themselves. Why can't I do it myself before I go and ask somebody else? And if you can answer that question and a valid reason enough to yourself of why you can't do it for yourself, then go ahead.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, sometimes some people just need to be able to look at themselves in the mirror and be happy with the result that they see.
And only you can make yourself be that way. You can't rely on other people.
True.
It's your life, nobody else's.
That's why the mirror literally just reflects what it sees. It doesn't take in what you portray and then spit back an altered image. It's literally just a copy of exactly what you're showing it.
Now,
So
Michael
if you
Jackson
don't
is
like
playing
what
my
you
hand.
see,
There are some deeper questions that I'm sure have some answers, but it's up to you to find them.
Always battling with that man in the mirror. Always trying to change my ways.
Something.
You have a PC in your pocket all day. That's danger, dude. Mobile gaming is like not
we've all been
always the
there.
best
We've been there
thing.
together on
Yeah.
a few
Oh, we've
occasions.
being able to
all
take
been
games with you,
there.
games that you're into everywhere that you go, dangerous.
All I'm gonna say is fucking Dot.
Dude, I think about that game sometimes. I'm not even gonna lie.
I do
Like
too.
when I think of all
I
the
do too,
fucking-
because it was a
Oh,
lot of fun, and
so much.
I
fun.
still I'm pretty sure I still have my account. No, I think I deleted the app, but I would just have to re-download it and then just like re-download my information, right?
Yeah.
If it's even an app anymore. I don't know if it's available.
With how good it did. I don't know. That game was, dude. I remember writing papers about that game. Like I had
Dude,
like pairs up and matches and
Like I legitimately, I told my coworker Adam at the library of the game. We started our shift at like 8 a.m. And then our shift was over at like 4 o'clock. He was still playing the game. I was, of course, still playing the game. And then he messaged me at like 10 o'clock at night on Facebook and was like, dude, what the fuck? I've been playing this game all day.
It's bad, man.
So, and I'm just like, shit, bro, from 8 a.m. until now, 10? Like you've been playing it for 14 hours?
I feel like I've been internally chasing that dragon since Dot. I've been trying to
That'll
find
do
another one that
man.
suffices, and I
That'll
just
do that.
I burn and turn them. I get sick of them, and I delete them, and then it's on to the next.
I don't know that I ever played Dot.
Yes, you
Yeah,
did.
you did.
Me and you
all
talked
did.
about it for a long time, dude.
We
That was the little
all did.
pixelated one where the
You
monsters
two
evolved
got
and merged
me
together.
into it.
Yeah. It was
It
when
was
I lived
then-
with
because then
Jess
it
in
was
the
like-
apartment.
DOT, right?
DOT.
It was
Pixel monsters.
yeah,
Oh
but like
my
what
God.
like what did DOT stand for? It standed
I
for
forgot
something.
it was an anagram.
I don't know.
It stood for something. I just can't
Digital-
remember.
Optic trainer. I don't know.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Sorry, my video is like or behind a little bit. So
Mm,
reset it.
Oh, that game, dude.
I know. And then there was
The game.
and then there was there was the next game that we started playing that like took me forever to get with you guys on because like you guys just like randomly stopped playing Dot and I'm just like, well, I like Dot, so I'm gonna keep playing Dot for a minute. And then I got bored with it. And then eventually you guys got me onto that other game where it was,
was the
like,
Naruto
it
one,
was,
right?
like dragons and like the monsters or whatever. It was like the you build like 3 and
Oh yes. No. I just played this the other day. I downloaded it, and
What
we
is
it?
still have a clan. Marvel Puzzle Quest.
no, it wasn't Puzzle Quest. It was a game before Puzzle Quest.
Gosh, we went through some.
But we did play
sprees
Puzzle
there.
Quest
Dude,
for a hot minute.
Dot.
too.
I didn't get bored of Dot. Just to clarify, I did not. I had to stop myself from playing that game.
Oh
I
yeah.
believe
It
it.
was
That's how most
causing
of these
problems in my
games go.
relationship.
I
Man. It was
believe
causing
it.
problems in my personal life. Like
I
I had
believe
to
it.
stop playing.
I
Dot.
believe
It was
it, man.
bad. Like,
I
it's
believe
true,
it
it's
because,
true.
and I think it was after Adam sent me that message that I was just like, I think I need to cut back on this game.
This podcast is a safe alternative
right.
to another addictive video game.
Dude, and that's such a good point because it is like you can be addicted to things but have something to show for it. You know what I
Yes,
mean? Like,
exactly.
you can it's good to have things where you can actually have something beneficial to show from it at the end of it.
It's huge. And I think about that a lot, especially when I play a video game now, or when Z brags to me. It's like I know I have to be excited for him, but at the same time, it's like I've played Fortnite with him. Him and I have done. Me and him have built like huge maps. And what happens when we leave there?
You get killed.
No, it's gone. You never see
gone.
it. You never see
Yeah,
it again.
that
Whatever
too,
you
yeah.
built, it's nothing.
Well, that's where
It's
there's
like, where's
Minecraft
the
though.
fun in that?
Minecraft is
Exactly.
store it and it's a community and people can come check out these
Exactly.
worlds and explore the worlds for ages. So it's like, how do you tell someone that's not?
And you can
know?
go attack
Yeah.
other people.
Right.
Or tear down their places, right? Yeah.
That's a whole virtual form of life, you know?
Oh my
Like,
God, it is.
You can also
It
go
really
work
is.
with other people.
My sister's
Yeah.
the same way. She's played Sims
It's similar.
ever since I think laptops were a thing.
Life
She's been
inside
on
of
it since
life.
before laptops.
Dude, I remember like one of the Sims games that I tried playing. Like I couldn't get the person to progress whatsoever. Like it was like it was you were living with your mom and you needed to be able to like I think like the toaster or like the refrigerator or something breaks and like you need to get it fixed because like you can't bring food into your like you can't like do food or anything because you don't have a working refrigerator. And
like it's like for real the game of life.
so and I remember that like so I thought about it and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go try and fix this refrigerator. And then you go over there and then you like grab the refrigerator and it like electrocutes you
because you don't know how to fix a refrigerator.
because you don't know how to fix
You've never
it yet.
fixed a refrigerator.
So then I got
Beat it in
I
your
got so
head.
then I got my mom to go over and do the same. And it just shocks her as well.
Such a
And I remember like if you guys remember Adam Anderson, we were actually playing the game.
How could I forget that
And
kid?
then I think it was his mom that came into the room because she heard us electrocuting the lady on the game. And she's just like, you demons, and making that old woman do all that work and then us just like continuing to electrocute her. But and then like eventually enough time passed that we're just like, okay, so what we need to do is we need to learn how to fix the refrigerator. So there's a book that we have to be able to read. So we go over to the book and we selected to study mechanical. And then the person was just, I'm too depressed to study. And we're just like, how the hell do we make him happy so that he wants to study? So then we're
Try
thinking,
electroshock therapy again.
so we tried that. It didn't make him happy. And we're just like, okay, well, what else can we do? We're like, okay, there's another book that we can have him read this book. So it'll actually like raise his spirit. So we had him read that book. And then we tried to make him study mechanical. And he was still too depressed to study. So we're just like, then maybe
he was depressed to study a book, so you had him read a different book, and that solved the problem.
Somehow it raised his spirit a little bit to read a different book that wasn't studying.
Maybe it was a book he
mechanical.
actually liked. Maybe it was a book that
Probably.
he actually
Where'd
found
you find this
interesting.
book?
Yeah,
It was on the bookshelf.
He owned this book. Okay,
So,
yeah, he's
And then after that, we're like, okay, we'll make him watch TV. So we had him watch TV for a little bit of time, and eventually that rose his spirit. So after he was done watching TV, he finally studied mechanical.
It's that decompression. He needs to decompress. I fucking feel
I
that,
didn't-
man. I
I
feel
didn't
that.
think
I
about
get it.
I didn't think
100%.
anything of it at the time, but I definitely understand it now.
I don't want to sit there and read all day and learn all day. Sometimes
Lucky the
it
TV didn't
sucks.
break.
Yeah.
Because then he's really got to study mechanical. Oh god.
Yeah, when you have nothing to decompress.
Oh, the
All right.
Sims. I played SimCity. I made cities and then destroyed them with aliens or natural disasters.
Boys, who puked in the van?
Wait a minute. If living is this hard, what about death?
Yeah, it's that we are. Yeah, it's that we are.
Yeah,
It's-
like everyone already
It's
knows.
evolution.
Everyone
right?
Hold on,
knows
hold on.
that, like
Let's feed back in the gibberish because I broke
you
it
were
up.
brought to the earth by the stork.
Right?
We gotta. We
Wait,
gotta have
whoa. Wait
Hold
a
on.
minute. You guys don't actually believe
bet's
that
going. He's
we
playing
were
with it.
all brought here by this giant stork?
Have you ever seen a stork?
Wait, he was just gonna break it, and then we're gonna go back.
So I lost the rest of it after.
Ah, man.
I'm going again right now. Ready? Set?
Hold on.
And-
Okay, we're good.
Hold on. Let me have my deep thoughts.
It's okay. You're gonna take some.
Maybe don't even think about it. Don't think so deep. Don't think so deep, Kev. He's going too deep. He's going too deep.
No,
Today, we're talking to you about life.
all right. So
Welcome to Ma's Garage.
Hour later, we set a schedule.
Kev is going to be pinned, and you are now pinned.
I want to make sure everybody got their tongue time in.
Did we both
Always.
just do that? I was looking at Kev. I didn't look at Chris.
Right, I was just looking at Kev too. I fucked all that up. I don't know where I'm at.
Worked. It worked.